most amazing fam, my name is Abby and I am back with a part 2 of top 10 scary Disney conspiracy theories that will shock you. I dove a little deeper this time to find ones that I hadn't heard of before, so let's get right into it because I have a lot to say. At number 10, Jack Jack is possessed. Now, this theory comes from Spoodern on Reddit. Before we get into it, we need to accept some of the setup to it. First of all, Spoodern said that Syndrome's mother is Psychwave. The evidence for this is that when Mr. Incredible first met Buddy, his tone indicated that he knew his mom. He told the officers, make sure his mom knows what he's been doing. Like he knows his mom. Now, Psychwave is one of the first supers Syndrome kills, but this would make sense because he wouldn't want his mother getting in the way of his plans. Also, her team had a secret base that was all the much easier to get as he got rid of her. Now that we've accepted this condition of a mother-son moment, let's review Psychwave's powers. Spoodern brought up that on the bonus CD of Incredibles, the intelligence was marked as the highest of all superpowers. We also know that Syndrome is very smart. We can see this with the technology he makes, obviously. And Psychwave's other superpower was possessing another person's body while losing physical control of her own. Now, stick with me and Spoodern here. With these possible powers inherited from his mother, what would Syndrome do in his final moments? Possess the person closest to him. Baby Jack Jack. Spoodern goes on with evidence of the changes to Jack Jack, but I'm already convinced. His full theory and all others will be linked below. So what do you think? Is Jack 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 Jack? Or is Jack Jack Syndrome in Jack Jack's body? On to number 9. Fairy Godmother is the mastermind behind nabbing the prince. And okay, this photo got me thinking. How did the shoe fall off? I want to know. Just look at the meme. How would Cinderella's shoe fall off if it fit her perfectly? Let's look at the facts of the night. She wasn't the person who created the outfit, it was her fairy godmother. This leaves it open to the possibility that her grandmother was the one who made the shoe a little loose. She was the creator of it after all. Fairy Godmother saw a hardworking woman who needed an escape, right? She wanted Cinderella to have a night off and sent her to the ball where the prince was captivated by her. Cinderella was under a time constraint put upon her by her fairy godmother, which resulted in her being more bold up until the last minute when she had to run. And you know what's convenient? One of the shoes that fairy godmother made conveniently falls off. Oh, how silly of me. Yeah, shoes didn't fit quite right. Oopsie daisy, now you left a token at the house of the guy you were hanging out with. The fairy godmother behind it all, 100%. This whole thing orchestrated by the fairy godmother. And yes, I'm going on a spin here, but let's look at fairy godmother in Shrek. She is conniving and trying to set up her son, Prince Charming, with the princess. Who's to say we fully understand the motivations of the fairy godmother when she is helping Miss Cinderella? Just watch out who you trust because you don't know their motivations. But anyways, let's move on to number 8. MEGARA after death. Hysteric Jester brought up a good point on Tumblr back in 2017. Sure, MEGARA and Hercules have their happy little ending, but they do end up mortal. So what about when they die? Death in this movie is the underworld. Hysteric Jester makes the point that as a hero, Hercules can't be touched by Hades, but Meg is free game. So what would a god of the underworld do to punish her? Make him serve her forever. If you add one additional E to MEGARA, you get MEGARA, the name of one of the mythological furies that represents jealous rage. Hades turns her into a monster that punishes people in the underworld, punishing people that cheat on their partners more than anyone else. I take this as her taking out her rage of the situation she's in after death on the people that squander the love they had in life, because now she doesn't get to enjoy her time with Hercules because she's a fury. On to number 7. The beast's beastliness is a gift. This theory comes from Loki, son of Asgard on Reddit. They say that while the sorceress was still behind turning the beast into a beast, she did it as a gift to him, not as a curse. The Reddit user talked about the prince being turned into the beast as a way of being freed from his life of princely expectations. Why would someone like putting on makeup and putting up a front just to be judged by people, right? Being turned into a beast freed him from expectation, and the post also explained that the sorceress also turned his staff into inanimate objects to be different just like him. The love story then comes from him being accepted in a state that is freed and removed from judgment, showing him that he is worthy of love even when he is seen at his perceived worst. And only then is he transformed back into his old, beautiful self. So maybe the point of the movie wasn't Stockholm Syndrome? Maybe still that's a different aspect? But let's look at another Beauty and the Beast one for next one. At number 6, Belle is the one being saved. This one's a funky theory because it flips your perception on its head. In a Reddit post by Potsticker17, they argue that the Beast is actually the one saving Belle. They argue that she's a bit of a snob and traded her life for her father to have the perks of living in a palace. Great food, luxury living, and she disregards his, as in the Beast's, wishes at multiple turns and only transforms to having internal beauty once she cares for the Beast, saying that she didn't have the internal beauty before. And this is when she's finally caring for someone other than herself. And then this in the movie happens simultaneously as the Beast's outside changes to match his internal beauty, according to Potsticker17. Personally, I think they both grow and change in the movie as people do in real life, as they are influenced by the people they hang out with, but I think this one's a cool theory that I hadn't heard yet. On to number 5. This is another one from Tumblr, this time from user Wait for Heath, Powers of the Heart. This one is about the movie Moana. Average life expectancy during the time of the movie it was set in was much shorter than it is today, about 35 to 40 years instead of 70 to 75. If you look at Moana's grandmother, she's much older than that. Respectfully, she's very nice. Anyways, Wait for Heath's theory is that the heart of Te Fiti had been giving her life. In the movie, once Grandma Tala gave Moana the heart, she became ill. She wasn't responsive to the people around her other than when Moana was close, and this was when Moana had the heart of Te Fiti on her. And here's the kicker. Grandma Tala passed away after Moana left Motunui. Wait for Heath says this cut off any power the heart was still sustaining Grandma Tala with. I found this idea on a Disney Reddit thread posted by a deleted user. Their idea was that Disney pushes magic and witchcraft on purpose. Not to turn kids into Satanists or anything, but just having it in movies and pushing the narrative that if magic did exist, then this, in the movies, is what it would look like. The post said it was to condition adults into thinking that magic doesn't exist because it's something you only see in Disney movies. If magic is something that you have to believe in to use, then the only way it makes sense to eliminate magic is to squander the belief in it. Make it a social norm that magic is accepted as non-existent. Then, in that case, it would only exist in movies, or in video games, or your dreams, or D&D. But okay, enough of that one, let's go to the next. On to number 3, the mother of two evils. Okay, so what if the evil queen from Snow White survived her crushing defeat? You know, if you don't see the body, a character might not be dead. And where does she show up next? This theory says as Mother Gothel in Tangled. Stick with me here. Both women are obsessed with beauty. One wants Snow White killed because she's seen as fairer, and the other traps Rapunzel in a tower as her personal flower of youth, or personal fountain of youth. Both characters are manipulative and cruel and can act nice when it suits them. Even more, if you look at the dagger the evil queen gives the huntsman and Mother Gothel's dagger, the two look quite similar. If you aren't quite convinced yet, just look at an image of the evil queen as an old hag and then one of Mother Gothel when she's suddenly afflicted with old age. Looking pretty similar here. On to number 2, Woody's dead. Alright, there are Toy Story 4 spoilers here, just to warn you. In a thread started by Twiggy Tire on Reddit, people start talking about how Toy Story 4 represents dying of old age or retirement and reuniting with your loved ones in the afterlife. Rabid Flamingo pointed out that this also goes along well with the supposed themes of death and the meaning of life in Toy Story 3. The thread will be linked for you below because it's quite long and has a lot of good points, but I'll give you the highlights. First, Woody trains the next generation, aka Sporky. When Bo Peep questions why he's trying so hard to save Sporky, he says it's all I have left to do. Twiggy Tire ties this in with the concept of spirits having unfinished business. Then, for the end, Twiggy Tire says this: the ending scene can be construed as Woody's loved ones saying their final goodbyes as he passes on and reunites with the love of his life on the other side. Then, to drive it home, we can't forget that Woody was made in the 1950s. Sure, toys may not follow the same life expectancy as us, but in terms of parallels, this Reddit user is making a good point. But let's move on to number 1. At number 1, Big Hero 6 preceded Pacific Rim. This one comes from Chicago Fawcett on Reddit, who saw many parallels of Big Hero 6 to Pacific Rim. They may be in the same world, same place. They cite the similarities in visuals and tone between the two movies, like the colors, blue and orange, plus a coastal, technologically advanced but also traditional city with high skyscrapers. Then there was the whole thought of the melding of human and machine with the main villain and the microbots. The microbots were controlled via neural interface controlled through body, motions, and thoughts. Chicago Chicago Fawcett said this is the same way the Jaggers function. Then the big one here is the portals. They led to a floaty dimension in Big Hero 6. There were the 2 in the test scene in the movie, but only 1 in the end. The Reddit poster's theory is that the other portal could still be fully functional at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, allowing Keiju to come through, or keeping them from coming through, from the same floaty dimension as Big Hero 6. Chicago Fawcett leaves us with this thought. As well as battling robots, like in the very first scene of Big Hero 6, there's actually a still shot during the end credits where Fred, in his monster suit, is wrestling with a similar sized real monster that looks remarkably like a small Keiju. Do you think the two could be connected? Well, those are all the theories I have for you guys, and what do you think? Do you have some theories of your own, or have seen one you can particularly believe in? Let me know in the comments below, and give a like and subscribe while you're down there. Again, many of these theories have a lot more to them, so if you like them, check them out after this video. Pop the links open in a new tab and have a most amazing top 10 playlist playing in the background, perhaps. But anyways, that's all I have. Bye!